The night cracked open with the sound of boots on concrete and the red-blue wash of emergency lights bleeding through the thin curtains, and in that instant Daniel Harper knew that whatever life he had built with trembling hands was about to be tested in ways he never imagined. His heart slammed against his ribs as the apartment door shuddered under a heavy knock, the kind that carried authority, fear, and finality all at once, and his first instinct was not to run or hide, but to turn toward the small figure frozen behind him, eyes wide, breath shallow, trusting him with a faith so pure it hurt to breathe. The words formed in his mind like a vow, like a shield, like the last thing he had left to give, and before the world could take another step toward them, he planted his feet and braced himself for whatever came next. If this opening already makes you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet courage of ordinary people, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from, because stories like this travel farther when hearts carry them together. Daniel Harper had not always lived in a second-floor apartment with peeling paint and a refrigerator that hummed louder than it cooled. Once, his life had been carved with straight lines, early mornings, pressed uniforms, and a sense of purpose that came from serving something larger than himself. But life had a way of bending even the strongest steel, and when his wife Emily died suddenly from a rare illness, the world he knew collapsed inward. Grief did not arrive gently, it came like a flood that soaked every corner of his days, and Daniel learned quickly that sorrow does not pause for bills, diapers, or a crying child at 3 in the morning. He became both mother and father to his daughter Lily, learning how to braid hair with clumsy fingers, how to cook meals that felt like home even when exhaustion clawed at his bones, and how to smile through pain so his daughter would never feel the weight he carried. The job he took after leaving the service paid little and demanded much. Long shifts at a warehouse left his back aching and his spirit frayed, but he showed up every day because Lily needed him to. The neighborhood was rough around the edges, a place where sirens were part of the soundtrack and trust was a rare currency. Daniel kept his head down, paid his rent on time when he could, and taught Lily to say thank you, to help others, and to believe that people were more than the worst thing they had ever done. He believed that himself, even when the past whispered doubts in the quiet hours of the night. What Daniel did not know was that the building had been under investigation for months. A unit 2 floors below had been used by a criminal network without his knowledge, and surveillance errors and rushed intelligence had painted the entire stack of apartments with suspicion. On that night, when the SWAT team arrived with controlled urgency and weapons ready, Daniel's name was just another line on a list, another door to clear, another risk to manage. The knock came again, heavier this time, and the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Lily's small hands clutched the back of Daniel's shirt as he positioned her behind him, his body instinctively angling to shield her from the unknown beyond the door. Fear surged, but it did not own him. Years of training had taught him how to steady his breathing, how to read the space, how to prepare for the worst while hoping for something better. He thought of Emily's laughter, of Lily's first steps, of every promise he had ever made to keep his daughter safe. Whatever happened next, he would stand between her and harm. The door finally gave way, opening into a flood of light, commands echoing through the narrow hallway, boots fanning out with practiced precision. The scene was chaos to an untrained eye, but Daniel saw patterns, saw discipline, saw young faces behind shields and helmets, each carrying their own fear beneath layers of armor. He felt the old reflexes stir, the muscle memory of a life he had left behind, and he forced himself to stay still, to remain calm, to show with his posture that there was no threat here, only a father and his child. As the team advanced, one figure at the back paused. The SWAT commander, a man named Marcus Reynolds, had seen thousands of rooms, thousands of suspects, thousands of moments where everything could go wrong in a heartbeat. Something about Daniel's stance, about the way he positioned himself without aggression, about the calm defiance in his eyes, struck a chord deep in his memory. It was a look he recognized, not from criminals, but from men who had stood on dusty roads far from home, men who had learned to put others before themselves. Reynolds studied the old scar near Daniel's temple, the faded posture of someone who had once worn responsibility like a second skin, and the recognition hit him like a wave. This was not a man hiding from justice. This was a man who had once been justice's shield. The room seemed to slow as Reynolds lifted his hand, signaling his team to pause, and in that suspended moment, past and present collided. Without a word spoken, without any explanation needed, the commander straightened, removed his helmet slightly, and raised his hand in a formal salute. It was a gesture heavy with respect, with shared history, with an acknowledgement of sacrifice that transcended uniforms and years. The team followed instinctively, weapons lowering, tension draining from the space like air from a punctured tire. Lily peeked out from behind her father, confusion mixing with awe as she witnessed something she would remember for the rest of her life. The misunderstanding unraveled quickly after that. Records were checked, mistakes admitted, apologies offered in quiet, respectful tones. Daniel was cleared, his apartment searched only enough to confirm the truth, and the real suspects were taken into custody elsewhere in the building. As the lights faded and the night returned to its uneasy normal, Reynolds lingered long enough to ensure Daniel and Lily were safe, leaving behind not just an apology, but a renewed faith that the system, though flawed, was still capable of humanity. In the days that followed, word spread through the neighborhood, not as gossip, but as a story that warmed hearts starved for hope. Neighbors who had barely nodded before now stopped to offer help. A local veterans group reached out, connecting Daniel with resources he never knew he could ask for. Lily returned to school with a story of bravery, of her dad standing strong, and she walked a little taller, pride shining in her eyes. Daniel's life did not magically become easy. Bills still came, grief still visited, and the world remained uncertain. But something fundamental had shifted. He realized that his past, once a source of pain and regret, was also a wellspring of strength and honor. He understood that standing firm, even when afraid, could change the course of a moment, could remind others of who they were meant to be. As months turned into years, Daniel continued to raise Lily with the same quiet determination. He volunteered when he could, helped neighbors fix what was broken, and taught his daughter that courage was not about fighting, but about protecting, about choosing compassion even when the world felt hostile. The night of the SWAT raid became a chapter in their story, not defined by fear, but by respect, by recognition, by the simple truth that goodness can still be seen if someone is willing to look closely enough. And if this story has found a place in your heart, if it has reminded you that even in the darkest moments humanity can shine through, please take a moment now to like the video, share it, and subscribe, because your engagement helps stories of hope reach those who need them most. Before the ending, I want to ask you to comment and share what this story made you feel, because your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. In the end, Daniel Harper never asked to be a hero. He simply stood where he always had, between danger and the one he loved most, trusting that doing the right thing was enough. And sometimes, in the unlikeliest of moments, the world stands back, recognizes that quiet bravery, and salutes.